Hey everybody, it's me Chris. I'm back over here in my kitchen. I want to share with you my updated pizza dough recipe. And I've made a lot of pizzas and I really love pizza. I'm always trying new things, and what I found is that if I let the pizza dough rest for a longer period of time, it really develops a much better flavor and a much better crust. So my updated recipe is going to have the dough resting in the refrigerator for 48 hours. And you'll be amazed at how delicious your pizza will come out when you follow this recipe. So I'm going to show you how to make it, how to get it set up to rest in the fridge. And I'm going to also show you how to put it in the pans so that it's got enough room for the dough balls to rest and not get stuck together. And it's going to be really, really awesome. Take a look. I'm going to update you on my ingredients list here. And this is for a double batch of pizza dough. This will make 4 large pizzas or 8 small pizzas, which is how I like to make it so I can put them in the freezer. And it's 8 cups of 00 flour. I use the Napoli style flour. It's pizza dough flour, but if you don't have it, use regular. 3 cups warm water. 2 packs of the active dry yeast. You can get that anywhere. Or if you're using the big bag like I do, it's 4½ teaspoons. 2 tablespoons of coarse sea salt or kosher salt, coarse kosher salt, not table salt. 1 tablespoon of sugar and 2 tablespoons extra virgin olive oil. And that's the ingredients for your dough. Alright, so I got my KitchenAid set up with my dough hook attached. And if you don't have a KitchenAid, just make this in a big pot or a big mixing bowl as big as you have. You can do it by hand. It'll come together probably a lot easier than you think. I'm going to come in here, add my tablespoon of sugar to my 3 cups of warm water. I'm going to give this a mix. I just want to try to dissolve the sugar into the water a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to add my 4½ teaspoons of dry active yeast. Or if you're using the packets, again, it's 2 packets. Just mix it around a little bit. And let this hang out for about 5 minutes. Make sure it starts to foam up, and that way you know your yeast is good. If you get no foaming whatsoever and you see no activity with the yeast, your yeast did not activate and you're going to have to start over. Okay, so while my yeast starts to ferment and starts to foam up, I set up my pizza station here. I'm going to knead my dough on the board. I got a wet towel down on the counter so my board doesn't slip and I can knead my dough. I got my flour here, my 8 cups. I got my scraper so I can cut the dough into the sizes I need, and some extra flour. And then what I'm going to do, just until the yeast is ready, I'm going to add my 2 tablespoons of coarse sea salt into my flour. I'm just going to give it a mix. Okay, so my yeast is activated. I can see it's all foamy and it's doing its thing. So I'm going to add my olive oil, and it's about 2 tablespoons. You could add more or less if you want. I don't need to measure it. And now I'm going to add all of my flour and my salt straight into the mixer. Try to get it all in the mixing bowl and not all over the counter. Okay, and just shake out the excess. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this on to low and start mixing it. And once it comes together to form a ball, I'm going to let it continue to knead. I'm going to let the machine do the work for 7 to 10 minutes to really work the dough and activate the gluten. And that's an important step. You're going to see the dough will be very smooth and supple, and you're going to have a really great texture. Alright, so you can see my dough has just come together. And once it gets to this stage, again, you want to continue to let it knead in the machine for up to 10 minutes. But just keep an eye on your mixer. This is a lot of dough for this size machine. You don't want to overheat your KitchenAid. So keep an eye on it. If it starts to get warm, just stop it and you can finish kneading by hand. Alright, so my dough is ready. I can see it's nice and smooth. And what I'm going to do is, look, I got some flour here. I'm just going to flour my hands. I'm going to lower the bowl and just clean off all the dough off of the hook. Push it off of there. Take out the hook, and it's ready to go to the kneading board. Alright, so I'm ready to put my dough on the kneading board, and I'm going to flour my hands again and just scrape the bottom and make sure it all comes out. It should come out nice, one nice cohesive dough ball. And then I just want to knead it a couple more times with my hands just to smooth it out. Okay, you don't need to do too much, and I can feel the dough is just very smooth and supple and soft, and it really came out absolutely perfect. So that's pretty good. Now I'm just gonna on the bottom part, I'm just gonna tighten it up a little bit and close off the bottom to make it one cohesive, smooth ball. Okay, and then at this point, what I'm gonna do is I got my large bowl. I go around the top with some olive oil. Okay, and then the smooth side of the dough goes in first. Spin it around, get it coated, turn it over, and make sure the whole dough ball is nicely coated with the olive oil. And then I got two big pieces of plastic wrap that I'm going to put in right on top. And I want to make sure that I use more than I probably need on the plastic wrap when I do this, because you do not want air to get to your dough. And then just gently press it around and seal off the dough ball so that no air can get in there. Okay, and then you're going to take a damp rag, cover it, and then let this rest for 2 hours minimum. Alright, so a couple hours, I let my dough rise for the first time, and you can see it's more than doubled in size. So I'm going to remove my plastic, and I want to use this plastic again for at least one of the trays of dough. So I'm going to set it to the side there, a little bit more flour down on my board, and I'm just going to punch this down and roll it out onto my board. And now basically I'm going to even this out and cut it in half. And you want to just eyeball it. If you really want, you can weigh this whole thing and then portion it out based on weight. I don't need to. But I'm going to cut the halves in half. And then I'm going to make each one of those 2 even pieces before I form my dough balls. Alright, so before I roll out my dough balls, I'm just going to put some oil down on the pan. And I don't need a lot. I know I'm going to have 4 dough balls per pan, so just 4 little spots for the oil. And this will help prevent the dough from sticking to the pan and also from sticking to the plastic. And I noticed on my pieces, I got a couple that are much lighter than the others, so I'll just take a bigger piece, and all you do is just rip off some of the dough and put it with the other one, and I'll do the same with this one. This has too much dough. It's all going to come together in the end anyway. And then basically start to roll out your dough balls by pushing from the bottom up with your hands to make a smooth surface. Close the bottom here, pinch it, and just keep squeezing it together with your fingers like this, and it's going to make a nice tight ball. Okay, so my 8 dough balls are ready to go. And again, if you want to make large pizzas, just make 4. And what I'm going to do is take the smooth side down first. I'm going to roll it around in the oil and just make sure I get the whole thing covered. And I'm going to get 4 on each pan and try and leave as much space as I can. Okay, so I left these with some space, and I'm going to take 2 pieces of plastic wrap, and I want to cover them really, really well and make sure that no air can get in to dry out these skins. And then I'm going to place a dry towel over the top, and I'll do the other pan the same way. Alright, so my dough is done. I got my dough balls covered nicely in plastic and spaced out. And to save room in the fridge, I'm just going to take these a couple pieces of Tupperware and I'm going to turn it upside down like this. Or you could leave it this way, it doesn't really matter. And I'm going to put one pan on top of the other so it doesn't squish. And this will fit in my refrigerator nicely and it won't take up too much space. Okay, so now the long process begins of the 2 days, 48 hours to let the dough rest. And I'm going to take these and put them in the fridge, long ways just like this. I'm going to let it rest overnight for 48 hours. I'm going to take it out the next day and spin it around and put it the other way so that it rises evenly. And the reason you do that is because the temperature in your refrigerator from the door opening is different in the front part than it is in the back. And if you don't turn it around halfway through, the dough will rise unevenly. So I'm going to do that process in 48 hours, and then right before I'm ready to make my pizza, at least 2 hours or more, I'll take the dough out and I'll let it come to basically room temperature. Alright, so after 48 hours, my pizza dough is ready. And I just took it out of the refrigerator. And remember, we left it in there for 24 hours. I turned around the trays so that it could rise evenly. And this is what it looks like. And you can see it's puffed up. And if you look at the dough, you can see it's very airy and soft. It's very tender. And it's ready to use. And this will have tremendous amounts of flavor because we let it rest for so long. It developed a lot of character, and this is as close as you get to pizzeria dough. And if you want, it should come right up if you put oil down, enough oil. And what you do is you could take it out if you don't want to use it now and just put it right onto some plastic wrap. Cover it like this and just put it right into the freezer. And you can take it out when you're ready to use it. Just take it out the morning of, let it sit out all day and relax, and it'll be just as if you had made it that day, nice and fresh and soft and with a really, really delicious flavor because we let it ferment for 48 hours. So if you bought dough like that in the supermarket, it probably cost you $5 just for that one piece. And you can make this at a cost of 30 or 40 cents. You can make them and have them in the freezer ready to go. So that's my updated pizza recipe. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, Di Giovanna Family Recipes. Thanks for watching the video.